Thanks, Brian, and thanks for the opportunity to show some of these innovations that we're exploring around satellite tasking. I presented this recently to our public advisory committee, and some of the attendees thought it might be something other companies and other researchers would want to see. So thanks again for the opportunity to bring it forward. So I'll just go over very quickly what this planet imagery is that we're investigating. So I'll go over the trial of the operational monitoring, and then as well as touching on the next steps, I'll give you an early glimpse of some of the pros and some of the potential issues that are popping up. So planet imagery, like there's a lot of satellites up there, a lot of different companies, and we have had some history with Planet, as a lot of other companies have. So we got into discussions with them on the kind of tools that they had available, and right now they've got more than 200 satellites up, and I saw on the internet they just launched a bunch of extra satellites and extra Dove satellites. So they got a lot of satellites up there providing the opportunity for real-time monitoring of what's going on. Now the Planet scope, what they call the Doves, they've got 180, and like I say, they just launched a bunch of extra ones recently. They got the coverage, but they've only got 3-meter resolution, which really doesn't give forest industry what they need for really monitoring closely what's going on. They've also got rapid eye, where they've got even more frequent coverage, but it's at a 5-meter resolution. But they've also got SkySat, where they've got 21 satellites that they're providing 0.7-meter resolution that can be corrected using additional tools down to 0.5-meter resolution, which is kind of the tipping point for us at Mercer in regards to the resolution that we're looking for. And overall, the quality and the coverage is what we were interested in. So the SkySat is the one that looked like a potential tool for us. So these constellations, they're virtually covering the entire Earth, and they allow as well, in regards to SkySat, they allow the user to actually control where the satellites are going to be taking the imagery. And I can actually go into the system, say I want an image at this spot on the Earth's planet, and it will take the image for me. So we thought this was intriguing at the least, but also possibly beneficial in doing some of the work that we do, in that we could actually control a satellite to give us imagery without having to hire a plane, without getting in a helicopter, and possibly without having to send people out to the field. Where we're thinking is that we can use these kind of remote sensing applications to monitor our road building, monitor harvesting and the different phases of harvesting, such as roadside processing using cut-to-length, the cleanup of the site, any pile burning that has to be done, and even the hauling of the wood. And later, after the operation has cleaned the wood out, we have the opportunity to utilize the same information for silviculture planning, such as where we need to do site prep, where the planting has to be done and how much planting has to be done. And on top of all this, for our operations supervisors, there's an opportunity to actually assess in near real time the quality and of the operation in accordance with the plans that have been put in place. And of course, if I've got the operation complete and I've got the image right there, there may be an opportunity to utilize that imagery for our harvest block updates, rather than completing those later in the summertime together with the GIS processing of the harvest block boundaries. So we contracted with Planet for a trial, and we set up initially 4 areas, but what we were able to work out with the company is that we can have 4 areas, and we can move those areas around the land base as the operations move, which gives us flexibility to follow the operations over the season. We focused in on the winter operations for this year to do the assessment, given that that's the key area that we're concerned with in regards to safety. And so we initiated the assessment in November. And thus far, the results are promising, and I'll walk you through some of those. And the big opportunities that we've seen thus far is that we should be able to eliminate at least some of the time spent traveling to the blocks to monitor the operations that are going on, possibly even, well, almost for sure being able to eliminate the need to GPS the roads, and to assess the QA/QC for operations. So I thought the best way to show how this works, because a lot of folks think this is something that you need to be a GIS guru or a programmer to actually make work. So I'm just going to walk you through what it is. So this is Planet Explorer, and within this area, they have all sorts of tools. We focused in, like I was saying, on the ability to task the SkySat satellites. So rather than spending the time to log in and everything, I've set up the tasking environment so that you can see what we're looking at. So this is the area where you very simply you come in and you identify that you want to add an area. And you're able to put in whether you want a point or a line. And the line, you'd be giving it 2 latitude, longitude points, and it'll give you a minimum of 5 kilometer square, 25 square kilometer, 5 by 5. But what I found in most of our operations, it basically aligns with the area that we're going to do. And so either a point or a line, you put those points in, and then you're able to go through and tell it the frequency. So in our case, we wanted an image every week. You could opt for getting it every day if you want, or every month, and then you set it up, and away you go. It's literally that simple. So once you've got that up, you're basically setting up your satellite, or their satellite, to take your imagery. Some of the ones that we've got as an example. it's just telling you the specifics, and it shows you the captures that you've got, and you're able to go in, take a look. And it gives you an idea if it's a worthwhile image. You can, this is at 0.7 meter resolution, so this is prior to having the image increased in resolution using panchromatic imagery. So once you've decided that's good, you simply order the scene and it downloads. And so we've gone through that process, like I said, since November, and I've set up some examples for us to look through. So this is one of the operating areas that we were looking at, and I guess a lot of you are wondering, well, what does the resolution of our standard imagery look like? That's what this is. This is 0.3 meter resolution. And with 0.3 meter resolution, we've become accustomed to this as kind of like a minimum standard for AVI, for couple of updates and that sort of thing. It's also taken in the summertime, so there's not an extreme shadow issue. Still some shadow, but overall that's our standard. Now with planet imagery, like I say, this is planet imagery. We're at 0.5 meter resolution. So this is the first image we took, and as you can see, I can see where the operations have begun. And if I can zoom in on some of them, you can actually see, okay, at this point they have completed the bunching for this block. I can walk through the successive images. I can see that, okay, they've completed the cut to length processing. And this is a week later. I've got a good snowfall. And this was kind of important because we can see that even with snowfall, the identification of the materials roadside is still very apparent. And then this is in 1st of December. This is after the products have been taken out and the debris has been piled, and we can clearly see where all that is, and we can see what's left roadside. This will be our conifer component. We still have some to pick up here. We also see that the roads are very evident. I do not need to send someone out in a truck with a GPS to identify the location of the roads. I can literally come in here and have my GIS analyst come through and digitize that for us, or a summer student, or what have you. Even the ops supervisors are getting pretty proficient at doing this sort of thing. Thereby, and it doesn't sound like much, but if you've got to send someone out to a site to get the roads GPS, and that site's 3.5-hour drive to the site, then do the GPSing, and then 3.5 hours back, you basically taken a day of their work year to go out to the site to do something that you could do right off an image. I've got a few other examples. In this case, we got another area. There's my original. Go through and again do the harvest, roadside. You can start to see in this case, I'd be, well, we we did. We had discussions with the contractor to ensure their equipment was in sync with the plan. Made some revisions there. You're able to assess if the processing is being done as per plan, and decide whether or not it's necessary to go out and speak with the contractor. You're also able to see very quickly what's done and what's left to be done. The interesting thing about this, this is shadow, this brown, and we were concerned about that we wouldn't be able to see through the shadow, because given our latitude and the fact that we don't have a lot of light in the wintertime, we were concerned that this might eliminate its usefulness. But overall, we haven't seen that as a huge impediment to its use. We've also got a few other areas that are a little more complex. This one's interesting because you're going to see some features that caused a lot of questions from the contractors. This is the imagery taken in November. Now, this 0.5 meter resolution. This is 0.3 meter resolution. Don't see a lot of differences, except for the fact that the leaves are off the hardwood. There, they've gone through. You can actually see they've put their camp on the site. Got the roads put in. A little later, see they finished off the harvest. They've finished these harvest areas off. You can also see some very odd looking striations here. This is not something, we thought it was something the contractor did, but once we looked a little closer, turned out to be a very old treatment that was done in the site, an old operation from 30 plus years ago. So it left a scar on the landscape, and also showed up in the LiDAR. So at this point, you can see the level of quality with something that I simply went on to the planet site. I said take an image, and it's gone ahead and done that. Now, some of the questions we wondered when we showed this to Planet, because we're in discussions with them, they were amazed how it looked black and white, and they were pretty discouraged because they said, really, this imagery is much better in summer conditions. So they actually gave us an image in the summertime, and so this is one that's taken in October, not quite summer. And because the imagery is 4-band, you're able to take your imagery and use the infrared side of things. So this is an infrared image of the area, and again, it's very good quality. Not as good as 0.3 meter resolution, but definitely gives you the quality. You see the difference in the shadow that you're getting when you're using it this way. You're also able to see you know, how your roads have been reclaimed. You're able to see the retention that's been left. You're able to see the piles that have been left. So that is what I wanted to show you in this regard. There we go. So, early findings. Overall, we see promise for effective monitoring and updating, and I think you would agree based on what you saw. There's definitely opportunities there. Some of the considerations, though, that we bumped into, environmental conditions, and when you get cloud like this, and I don't know why, but on our East FMA, we've had areas with cloud for better part of a month, and every time the satellite's going over, we're getting cloud conditions. So that's definitely something we're going to have to consider. We also bumped into one that we were not expecting, that was competition from other tasking projects. One of our areas didn't get any images taken for 3 weeks, and in discussion with Planet, they identified that there had been heavy tasking in the area, and the other tasking projects had superseded ours. So I think that's something that can be worked through with Planet to just keep ours on top, but it's not something we had foreseen. Shadows during winter, they still are a concern, but I think we are okay with the level that we were seeing. Some of the bigger challenges, I guess, is aligning the tasking of the satellites with operations when you're not really 100% certain on the startup, and that's especially important at startup during winter operations because you're waiting for freeze up to occur. The other one is phases of operations and winter events. So those are all ones that still need some work to align. As far as our next steps, we're going to continue to the end of the season with our monitoring project. We're looking at integrating these images right into our forest management planning system. We use the Silvacom FMS. And we're also looking at integrating it into our equipment tracking system. So we're looking at some new innovative systems for operations supervisors to use, and if we can link this imagery right into their systems, it'll actually go mobile with them. We're obviously going to be evaluating other potential uses. We see a lot of opportunities possibly in the silviculture side, so planning for silviculture operations, planning for burning piles, a number of different areas, and one of the ones that will require some additional study and discussions with government of Alberta is if this imagery is of does it meet the requirements for completing cut block updates. If it does, we could be completing our cut block updates as we go throughout the season, rather than waiting until we get update imagery in the summer and then completion of those cut block updates later in the fall. Anyway, so that is my presentation. If anyone has any questions, I'm free to answer them.